Yo, what's up, guys? We're back, and man, this is for a great card, UFC 264. I can't wait for this card. I'm sure a ton of other MMA fans are thinking the same way. I mean, the main event, obviously, Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor. Whenever you got Conor McGregor fighting, you know, it's going to be a huge fight, probably the biggest fight of the year pay-per-view-wise. And then you got, you know, a sick co-main event. You got Sean O'Malley on the card. You got Natural Born Killer, fucking Michel Pereira versus Niko Price. You got Ilia Topuria, you know, taking that step up in competition, taking on a really crafty, interesting guy in Ryan Hall. You even got, you know, Brad Tavares, Omari, Akhmedov. Some really, really cool fights, man. So, fun fight card. It's a really good pay-per-view, I believe. And, yeah, I'm really excited to break out this card, talk about it. But, like always, right before the video, I always want to try to get some interaction. So I want you guys to put a comment down right now. Who do you think is going to win in the main event? Who do you think is going to win in the co-main event? Really want to know what you guys think about that. And then as well, just, you know, put a like down. I want to try to get 500 likes or 400 likes for this video. So, gonna have a big goal. I mean, I know, you know, it's never, I don't think we've ever attained 500 likes. It'd be the first time we ever did it. But, you know, I'm just gonna try to aim for the stars on this one, see if we could get it. If we fall short, it's all good. But, yeah, hit that fucking like button, guys. Let's get this shit up. You know, I got thousands of people watching it. I think 500, you know, that's not even half you guys. So you guys could do that shit. You know, hit the like button. Let's go, man. Let's get, you know, some interaction on this video. But also, I also want to give a big shout out to the sponsors of this channel, of the video. And, you know, they've been with me for a little while now, and I really, really appreciate what they're doing for me, and I think that they do great services for you guys. So first off, we got the guys at Fanatics Fantasy MMA, the Fanatics Fantasy MMA app. And this is the competition, this year-long competition, until, you know, December 31st, or the end of the year, basically the last event of the year, where the winner of this is going to be getting $100. So it's a pretty interesting event. It's actually a website where you go on, you make your picks for every event, but the niche that they have, the little difference that they have is it's more on the gambling side, where you're betting with the odds of Vegas odds, and if you add a knockout, submission, decision, you get those odds as well, and you don't have to pick a you know, the way that they win. So if you just think, let's say for instance, you just think Akhmedov is going to get the win, if you pick him, he's plus 100, you get the plus 100 odds. But if you pick him by decision, if he's plus 300 by decision, then you'd be getting the plus 300. And it's interesting because you see you know, huge contrast there at the top, for instance, and that just shows you know, different ways you could bet, and, you know, you could kind of play around and, you know, maybe get some strategies as well through this website, because you see the guy in first place, Bonsai, he's doing really well. He has 31 wins, 19 losses, so he's been winning much more than he's been losing in terms of the picks that he's been doing, and, you know, essentially, let's say, the bets that he's been placing, even though it's not real bets. And then you see Mikey Do, who's in second place there. He has 14 wins, 24 losses, so he's taking more risky plays. He's probably picking the round props, not the round props, the you know, the finish prop, or if they think it's going to be a decision. And you know, when he loses, he's losing more often, but when he wins, he's winning a, you know, higher amount of units. So it just shows, you know, a different way you could bet. And, you know, it's pretty cool. So, like I said, I want everyone to be getting involved in that. Let's try to get more people to, you know, sign up and do well on this. And yeah, I just got to give a big shout out to these first 7 guys. You know, Nick Savatello, Ron Blair, Brian the MMA guy, Aiden Anderson, Ricardo Weaver. We got Mikey Do, Bonsai EL, and you know, all these guys, all 7 of those guys are positive in the money. And, you know, you're picking every single fight on the card. So, you know, doing that and being positive, you're killing it. You're doing a great job. So, big shout out to those guys. Shout out to every single person that's in the competition as well. And like I said, I want to try to get some more people involved in there. You know, you could see we got quite a few names involved already. But yeah, I want to see you guys join there. You know, like I said, you can go to the link in my description, getfanatics.app, and sign up through there. Or you could just get it on Google Play or the App Store. And, you know, I also have my link for this group, so you can join the group and, you know, start having fun. You know, there's some interaction as well. People talk. So it's a really cool website, really cool app. I think that they do a great job, and I really had a good time playing so far with them. So going to keep that one going for sure. And then got to also give a big shout out to equitysportsanalytics.com. They're a really great capping website, and they do a great job. They actually have a dividend program. So essentially, I mean, you're playing free of charge. You're not really taking a risk because they pay you if they lose over a 2-week period $25 per unit lost. So, you know, if you're risking $25 a unit for 2 weeks with them, you want to test it out. If you lose every single bet, you're not going to lose any money. They would pay you back. And, you know, one thing as well is they haven't had to pay out a client on that dividend service since May 13th. So you definitely know they've been killing it. They've been doing really well recently. And, you know, they got all sports. So it's not just a UFC like me. You know, they got a MLB. You know, I know the NBA finals are coming up. They got NCAA sports. They got NFL. They got, you know, overseas sports. So they're really throwing a lot of content out there. They do a great job. And they're actually also doing a 4-day free trial right now. So that's something that you could try as well. You could, you know, get 4 days for free. See if you like it. So definitely check that out at equitysportsanalytics.com. You know, see if they, you know, win you some money, man, because they've been winning a lot of people some money lately, and, you know, anyone could do with some extra income. So definitely think that they're doing a good service over there. They really do a great job with analytics, and, you know, friends don't let friends gamble without math, and they're some of the best at, you know, breaking down the math and coming up with the best bets. So definitely recommend Equity Sports Analytics, and really appreciate them as well. But we're going to get right into it now. You know, the first fight of the night, Akhmedov taking on Yao Zhang. This is, I mean, I don't think someone could ever say they have a super strong read on this fight. We got two very low-level fighters. And, you know, with Akhmedov and Yao Zhang, they've both taken long layoffs as well. So they're coming in here off long breaks, and, you know, they didn't have a lot of success previously in the UFC as well. Both lost both their fights. Yao Zhang was finished in his debut against Cyril Asker, then you know, had a decision against Rashad Coulter in a pretty fun fight, a decision loss. And then we have Akhmedov, who got grinded out by Krzysztof Jotko in his first fight, and then, you know, kind of made a bad decision in that second fight, decided to try to go to war with the guy like John Phillips, and yeah, he paid the price. He went out cold pretty quickly there. So, you know, he's going to be trying to bounce back from that knockout loss. And both these guys have made some changes, you know, with their camps and just other things as well. You know, Akhmedov, he's came over to Las Vegas. He's training over at Extreme Couture. And, you know, so he's definitely been getting some good work in. That's probably a big step up from where he was training in Italy and Macedonia. You know, they don't really probably have that same level of wrestling, same level of even striking acumen. But one thing about Akhmedov is he is a little bit on the older side. He was already in his 30s. He's 33 years old at this point. So I just don't really expect a ton of differences in his style or huge improvements. But, you know, he could come in a little bit sharper, have a little bit improved takedown defense, you know, those type of things. But Akhmedov, I mean, watching him fight seems like, you know, he has a decent uppercut and overhand right, and he really tries to look for that overhand and straight right pull counters. So, you know, but he's not technical at all. I mean, he just comes forward, wings from the hip, just tries to, you know, create brawls. And that's what he's going to want to do against Yao Zhang, is, you know, try to back him towards the cage and throw these long combinations, try to, you know, get him in the pocket and work his right hand, work his right uppercut, and see if he can, you know, land that kill shot and knock out Yao Zhang. You look at Akhmedov's record, I mean, all of his wins are knockouts. A majority of those knockouts are in the first round, even in the first minute. So I believe 6 of Akhmedov's 10 fights have ended in under 1 minute. I mean, that's pretty insane. But he was facing a lot of really low-level competition on most of those knockouts. And he has been able to knock out a decent fighter in Will Fleury. But that's really the only fighter that he's defeated that has any name value. I mean, Akhmedov, like I said, he just wings hooks, wings overhands, has that uppercut. Sometimes he'll throw a straight right, and, you know, he will try to kind of counter with his right hand. But mainly he's just a brawler. He wants to go out there and, you know, just try to test each other's chins and go to war, which is what he did in his last fight. But Yao Zhang, you know, he's made a lot more changes, I would say. He's moved down to 185 pounds for this fight. He had fought at heavyweight in his UFC debut. Then he fought at 205 pounds in his next UFC fight, and now he's fighting down at 185 pounds. So pretty significant drop in weight. Definitely shows that he's probably dedicated himself and has gotten in a lot better shape. And he's 6'3", so he's going to be a tall guy for the division. But one thing about him is he does have a very short reach, only 72 inches of reach. He's actually going to have a 2-inch reach disadvantage here. But, to me, Yao Zhanghu, he has a wrestling background, freestyle, I think not freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling, where he was a silver medalist in, I think the Asian Olympic Games or something like that. Some sort of, he was a silver medalist in some, pretty prestigious wrestling tournament. But you see his freestyle wrestling, his wrestling on the legs, collegiate wrestling, and man, I mean, doesn't look very good. I mean, he got taken down really easily against Cyril Lasker. Gave his back, got submitted. Doesn't seem like his jiu-jitsu is really on that level either. But in this matchup, he's probably going to be the better grappler, so he's not going to have to really deal with someone trying to take him down or level changing, shooting in on his legs. In the clinch, I mean, with that Greco-Roman background, he should have a big advantage over Akhmedov. Maybe even he could hit a couple takedowns of his own, potentially. Haven't really seen him really go for a lot of takedowns. He does kind of like to attack that standing guillotine. I mean, it's not really a high-level move, but he has hit it over some guys. Looking at his record though, 3-2, and his 3 wins are against really low-level competition. So seeing that in the UFC kind of does raise your eyebrows a little bit. It's a little bit, not the best record, obviously, but I do feel like Yao Zhanghu actually has some potential. Having said that, I mean, his striking, his defense is not there. I mean, the guy doesn't move his head and is just extremely hittable. But he throws some nice combinations. I mean, he'll dig to the body. He has pretty fast hands on the inside. He'll throw straighter, tighter punches, shorter hooks. He's a lot sharper than Alen Amedovski. And I actually think, he's going to win all the minutes of the fight, most likely. I mean, he's probably going to be the sharper striker. He's going to be landing more volume. And Amedovski's going to be looking for that one-shot knockout. But, if you watch Yao Zhanghu's fight with Rashad Coulter, I mean, that guy took some bombs, man, against Rashad Coulter, who's a former guy that fought a heavyweight, huge guy that has some knockout power. And who was eating those shots, still coming forward, very tough. I mean, a lot of these Asian fighters, man, I mean, they just have great chins, very durable, no quit in them. And, man, I mean, it's a tough fight to call as well. Another thing that I don't like on the Yao Zhanghu side is that this is going to be his debut fight in the United States. A lot of fighters from Asia tend to have really, poor success when they come over to the United States and have to travel. And another thing that I learned as well is that Yao Zhanghu's coaches are not going to be at this fight. They could not get their visas, so I don't know who's going to be cornering Yao Zhanghu. I have seen him training a little bit with the Leech since he's been over the United States, so maybe he'll get some of his coaches. The Leech will jump in his corner, but yeah, I haven't really I don't know how big of a factor that's going to be, not having his coaches. But one thing is, Yao Zhanghu is 26 years old. So I said I believed he had more potential in terms of his hand speed, his combinations. He has that wrestling background. And, he also has the youth. When he fought in the beginning of his career in the UFC, he was 23, 24, on the younger end. I think now, he's going to be the guy that has the potential to come in here more improved, have progressed a little bit. He has been training with good guys, like I said. He's been at Tiger Muay Thai. I've seen him train with the Leech. So I do believe that ultimately who's going to come in here looking a little bit better. I think 185 maybe is a better weight class for him as well. And I'm going to go with Yao Zhanghu in this one to get the victory, either by second, third round TKO or a decision. I think if Alen Amedovski is going to get the win, it's probably going to be him finding that knockout in the first round. And he is going to be live for that, obviously, and he is the favorite in the matchup because, like I said, Yao Zhanghu's defense is pretty non-existent, and Alen Amedovski has proven he can put guys down. But, he hasn't fought a lot of high-level guys that he's knocked out, and Yao Zhanghu has proven that he could take a shot against a bigger man than Alen Amedovski. So, do I think Amedovski is going to be able to knock him out in that first round? I just think it's more likely that Hu can weather that and take over the fight. So that's why I'm going to go with Yao Zhanghu to get the victory here in a kind of low-level, lackluster. Not lackluster, I think it'll be very entertaining, but low-level fight here in terms of talent. In this next fight, we got the biggest, or actually not anymore. I think Sean O'Malley is the biggest favorite now. But we got Zhalgas Zhumagolov. He's a pretty huge favorite, minus 375, taking on Jerome Rivera. And, you know, both these guys are, you know, up against it here. Zhalgas Zhumagolov, he's 0-2 in the UFC. Jerome Rivera, he's 0-3. So this is definitely a loser leaves town type of fight. And, you know, you got to put up or shut up here for both guys. Zhumagolov, he's a guy that's proven, you know, he could beat some high-level guys. He has wins over Ali Bagatinov, Tagir Ulanbekov, Tyson Nam. Even though some of those fights I thought he lost clearly, they gave him the win. So, you know, Zhalgas, he's low volume, but he has decent boxing. He switches stances, and he looks for that left hook. I mean, that's his money punch. He'll throw leg kicks, the left hooks. He'll attack the body with some body shots. You know, uppercuts and hooks at times with his right hand, but kind of more rarely. But he does have good forward pressure. He cuts the cage off, and his head movement and his defense are pretty good overall. I believe he's much sharper in his defense than Jerome Rivera. He doesn't really have power, you know, but he does have, you know, good timing, and, you know, he's pretty sharp with his left hook. So he also, you know, has fights where he wins with grappling game plans. I think in this fight he may try to, you know, hit the double leg and get top control to kind of steal rounds and show that he's the one winning the round. He landed a nice few foot sweeps against Raulian Paiva, and he has decent takedown defense himself. I don't really think Jerome Rivera is going to be able to go in here and take him down. Jerome Rivera is going to have to try to win this fight by throwing, you know, the more volume and being just the pressure guy. And he does that. I mean, he throws a lot of volume, and that's going to keep him in the fight, I believe. You know, he doesn't really have good hands, but he'll, you know, skip in with his jabs, his 1-2s. And, I mean, he throws a lot of kicks. I mean, his kicks are better. I mean, his hands, they aren't very fast. He has his chin high. His hands don't really come back to his face after he throws his punches. So I definitely feel like his boxing needs a lot of work, but he does throw some nice front kicks up the middle. He, you know, is pretty dangerous in that Muay Thai clinch, and he's only been finished by strikes a couple times in his career, so he's shown to be fairly durable. Ode Osborne was able to knock him out with the first punch he threw in his last fight, though, and I mean, that wasn't a good look, but I mean, I just don't see Zhalgas having that kind of pop or that, you know, type of explosion, things like that. And Rivera, his wrestling isn't the best, but he will push, you know, for doubles, for body locks, and he has a good submission game. I mean, that's what I believe he's the best at. He catches submissions and scrambles, kind of a opportunistic, you know, submission type of fighter. He has 7 submission victories in his career, so, you know, that's 7 out of his 10 wins are by submission there. And I kind of disagree with this line personally. I think that Zhumagolov is way too big of a favorite. I mean, to be almost a minus 400 favorite, I think that's a little bit ridiculous. I mean, we got Zhalgas, who is a flyweight, and he's almost 33 years old, so I think his best days are behind him. And just look at some of the intangibles in this fight. We got Jerome Rivera, who's 5'10", and he has a 72.5-inch reach, so he's going to have a huge reach advantage, huge height advantage. He throws long kicks, and, you know, he doesn't really engage in that boxing in this fight, or if he does that against Zhumagolov, he could give him trouble because he throws a lot of volume. Zhalgas is a low volume type of fighter, and, you know, if Rivera can just land a lot of leg kicks, body kicks, you know, throw those front kicks up the middle, work some long punches, just try to kind of touch and get out of the way, you never know. I mean, he could make it a competitive fight. But I think Zhalgas overall has a lot more just technical acumen on the feet. He, like I said, has good footwork, and he cuts the cage off pretty well. So I think he's going to be able to kind of corral Rivera and force him into more of these boxing exchanges, work his right hand, and be able to land that pretty frequently. And I also, like I said, could see him mixing it up, hitting the level changes, getting the takedowns, and getting the win. I think if this fight just stays standing for 15 minutes, it's going to be fairly close. So, I mean, like I said, I think the line is kind kind of off there. But the pick for me is going to be Zhalgas Zhumagolov via decision. In this next one, man, we got an excellent fight here again with Omari Akhmedov taking on Brad Tavares. Two veterans, two longtime UFC fighters. Brad Tavares, he's been putting it down for forever, man. I mean, people are probably surprised how long he's been in the UFC. He debuted all the way back in 2010, man. So he's, cut his teeth in the octagon, and, he's still only 33 years old. So he's not that old. He has had to battle a lot of injuries recently. It's kind of kept him out of the cage, and he hasn't really been able to, get a lot of momentum. But his last fight was excellent, man. He went in there with Antonio Carlos Shoeface, and he was able to just completely nullify his wrestling. He denied all his grappling. His single leg defense looked really superb. And, that's the takedown that Omari Akhmedov likes to go to, single legs. He likes to attack singles and body locks. So I feel like Tavares is going to be a very hard guy to take down. He's going to make Omari really work for the takedowns. And as far as the striking goes, it's going to be competitive in my opinion early on because Omari Akhmedov is going to be the more explosive guy, I believe. And he's probably going to try to press, throw, combinations and get Brad to kind of try to get out of that technical rhythm that he's in where he works his jab, his long strikes, and his low kicks and kind of just keeps himself in a nice defensive shell and really just picks guys apart. And then, when he starts to, maybe see him kind of wilting to the low kicks or his jabs starting to land over and over, maybe he'll start to pick it up and kind of, then he'll look for the finish. But he's definitely more of a decision guy. Both these guys are. And, Omari on the feet, I feel like he's going to be able to hang early when he's fresh, but when he starts to get tired, he's going to start to have a lot of issues because he just opens up wide. He doesn't really check leg kicks at all. And Tavares is going to be able to start to probably get that read and the timing on when Omari's going to close that distance and try to, blitz in like he does. Touch him with the jab, touch him with the crosses, go to the body as well. I think that'll be a smart game plan for Tavares. Attack body jabs, attack kicks to the body, and try to slow down Omari as well. And I just don't see Omari having extreme success getting takedowns and controlling Brad on the ground. Brad Tavares has proven, like I said in his last fight, that his takedown defense is really excellent. And Omari likes to go for that single, which is the takedown that Tavares showed really good takedown defense against. And even if Omari is able to take Brad and get him to the ground, he did get that finish in his last fight, but it was more over a guy, in my opinion, in Tom Breeze, who checks out mentally and, just got cut from the UFC due to pulling out of another fight on the day of the fight. So, I mean, he kind of looked for a way out, and Omari gave him that way out and, submitted him. But Tavares, even if he's able to take down Brad in that first round and hold him down, let's say he wins that round from grappling, I don't think he'll be able to replicate that in the second and the third round. I think he's going to slow down like he does in almost all of his fights. Tavares is a guy that has proven he can keep that steady pace, has good cardio, and I think Tavares can kind of just rack it up, man, get ahead on the numbers in that second and the third round. I think the third round he could really maybe even hurt Omari and start to put it on him a little bit, because I just think guys that make Omari work for the takedowns and are technical strikers, he has trouble with that type of fighter because he can't get the fight where he wants it to be consistently. He doesn't have the cardio to wrestle hard. I mean, you don't really see him where he's had a fight where he's wrestled for 3 rounds, held the guy down all 3 rounds, and dominated the fight that way. He usually, uses his striking and throws these big shots and can kind of, be competitive in the striking and blend in the grappling a little bit, maybe get 1, 2, 3 takedowns, and that's how he'll win the fight. But Tavares, I just think it's going to be too sharp for him on the feet. I think he's going to control that distance. I think he's going to be able to hurt that leg as the fight goes on. And I think his takedown defense is going to be too good. And I just believe Brad Tavares is going to win from being the more technical striker and having better cardio and being able to keep it on the feet. So give me Brad Tavares in this one. And, I expect him to get it done here. And up next here, we got a women's fight. We got Jennifer Maia taking on Jessica Ai. I mean, 2 boxers here. I believe Maia is the clearly superior grappler. She's a black belt. She's physically stronger. I think she has better wrestling. She proved that she's super strong in the clinch and on top of her last fight, where she did go out there. She had to fight Valentina Shevchenko. She was another victim, but she wasn't a victim like Jessica Ai. Jennifer Maia was able to win a round against Valentina Shevchenko. I think she's the only girl other than Joanna Jacek at 125 pounds to win a round against Valentina. And, obviously we all saw what happened to Jessica Ai when she fought Valentina. Virtually no success, was knocked out in a really brutal way. One of the most brutal knockouts in women's MMA history, in my opinion. And since that fight, she was able to pick up that win over Vivi Araujo. It was a very good performance. But her last 2 fights, man, against Cynthia Calvillo, against JoJo Calderwood, I think those have been 2 of the worst performances she's ever had. She's looked very bad. She's almost 35 years old at this point. And I'm not really sure about her motivation at this point, about her training, her training scenario. I haven't really, don't think that she's been training at Extreme Couture that much for this camp. I think she's kind of just been training with her friends in her garage and kind of just doing her own thing. And, maybe that'll be the way to go, but to me, it kind of just shows kind of a lack of motivation, a lack of wanting to evolve, and kind of just wanting to stick to the same thing that she's doing, and, thinking maybe it's going to be able to work and she's going to be able to go out there and relive some old glory. But, she might have a little bit better hand speed than Jennifer Maia, but I even think Maia is the more technical boxer, and she's going to come forward with that pressure, and I think she's going to be trying to clinch up Jessica Ai, use that grappling. We saw Cynthia Calvillo just dominate Jessica Ai with the grappling pretty easily, and I think Maia could do the same thing. Maia also, to me, just has much more better cardio, and I think she's just going to want this fight more, plain and simple. I think that's going to be, one of the main keys in the fight. I think Maia is going to be the one pressing the action. She's going to be the one throwing more volume. She's going to be the one initiating the grappling. She's going to be the one just going first, doing more, and I think she's going to win the fight pretty easily. So Jennifer Maia, for me, is the pick, and she's one of my more confident picks on the card here. And up next, we got another really intriguing fight with Trevin Giles taking on Dricus du Plessis. And Dricus du Plessis, he's interesting guy. He's a big athletic guy. He's an exploder. He likes to kind of inch his way into range, and then when he sees the opening, explode into that cross or his left hook. He uses Superman punches, spinning kicks to close the gap, but really he just loves that left hook, man. He'll leap into that left hook, and he has one-punch knockout power with it. I've seen him knock out multiple guys with that left hook. He can get caught coming in, though, at times, because he doesn't really feint. He doesn't really give a lot of different looks. He doesn't look for a lot of different attacks. Sometimes he will switch stances, but he's always exploding straight in. He usually doesn't, come in behind any strikes or feints. I have seen him feint his hands to set up his low kicks. And his leg kicks are nasty, man. That's something that, all the opponents of Dricus are going to have to look out for, is low calf kicks. He really, really invests in them early and often, and, goes to the well with them and tries to slow guys down. And we've seen that's been an effective strategy in a lot of fights recently. But du Plessis, he lets some body kicks go versus Marcus Perez, but usually he's only throwing low kicks. I feel like his body kicks, his head kicks are a little bit stiff. They're not as dangerous. And defensively, he does have a good high guard, but he reacts like big reactions to feints, and he shells up a lot. He'll shell up when fighters throw at him, and when fighters pressure him, he's not nearly as effective. He will try to counter with his overhand right or that left hand. In his last fight, he landed that perfect left hook on Marcus Perez when he went for a spinning elbow, shut him off. And, I do think he's fairly durable. He covers up well, but Roberto Soldic was able to drop du Plessis in their first fight, and then he knocked him out in their second fight. And, you see du Plessis, even against Marcus Perez, when he's shelling up, Perez is ripping that body with the body kicks. He's, making Dricus really react with the feints, like I said. And Dricus, defensively, I think he has a lot of holes. He also got taken down quite a few times in a fight I watched of his against Jordan Luderbach when he was taken down off of his leg kicks. I think Giles maybe will try to do a similar thing. Duplessis' get-up game and his game off his back is good, though. He will go rubber guard. He'll attack elbows. He has pretty good submissions, good sweeps, and his front chokes are nasty, man. I mean, he has a really, really good guillotine. And, you know, he has had some fights I've watched where he'll go for takedowns and look to take the back, and he is a really good, you know, backpacker, and he has good rear naked chokes as well. But his wrestling is not the best. I mean, he could shoot from way too far out at times. And he's strong. I mean, against lower level guys, he can kind of shoot from too far out and then work his way up into the body lock. But against Giles, I think that he's going to be, you know, the inferior wrestler. Giles has to be extremely careful about that guillotine, though, if he decides to shoot in or if he gets tired. And, you know, if he gets put on his back, he really needs to worry about giving his back. He has to respect Dricus Duplessis there. I mean, we did see him give the back to James Krause in their first fight. But Dricus does slow down. I mean, he's gone to the third round in only 3 of his 17 fights, and he's lost 2 of those. His style is exploding, and, you know, it really, he comes in great shape, but it's just, that's taxing. And he's a sick athlete, though. He fights with a lot of confidence, and he's an opportunistic finisher. So he's one of these guys where it's like he could be losing the whole fight, and then he pulls off a victory. So it's a tricky guy to bet on, bet against. For Trevin Giles, it is dangerous, but he has to pressure here and feint a lot. He needs to try to force Duplessis to fight in boxing range, where I think he has a speed advantage and just superior boxing. His jab is really nice, one of the best jabs in the division. Really good counter crosses. And that's going to be his main weapon. I think he's going to look for low kicks of his own as well. Dricus has good low kicks, but he doesn't check low kicks himself. And I think, you know, Trevin is going to be able to win the minutes behind his jab, behind his straight punches, be the more fluid guy, just the better striker. I think his feints are going to be very pivotal as well. But, you know, Duplessis does always have that chance to, you know, counter the jab with that left hook, knock him out, and just find that finish. I mean, he's just going to have to look for that opportunistic finish. If Giles, you know, shoots in on him, he could get that guillotine. I mean, we've seen Giles guillotine twice in his career. Giles also slows down as well. So both these guys don't really have the best cardio. It's an intriguing matchup. I think that I'm going to go with Trevin Giles because I'm just going to go with the speed, the boxing, and kind of his UFC experience over just the finishing ability of Dricus. But, you know, I feel like this kind of I mean, I feel like it's kind of a dog or pass situation in terms of betting because, you know, if you bet Trevin, he's the favorite, he's winning the whole fight, then he loses. I mean, you can kind of justify that. And if you bet Dricus and he's the underdog, excuse me, if you bet Dricus and he's the underdog, same thing. I mean, you could just kind of hope for that finish, and if he doesn't get it, then oh well. I mean, at least you have some plus money. But for me, I mean, it's more. I'm going to lean towards the Trevin Giles side and go with him to get the victory here. And one of the closer fights on the card. And, man, I'm excited for this fight as well, man. Ryan Hall taking on Ilia Topuria. Really great fight. We got Ilia Topuria, who came into the UFC and just blitzkrieged Damon Jackson. Took him out really well in his second UFC fight. Proved that he's one of the top prospects in that 145-pound division. You have to take him serious. He's came over to the U.S. He's been training at MMA Masters, and definitely he's one of these guys that's going to be putting 100% into improving. He's dedicated fully to the sport. He's 24 years old, and we're probably going to see him improve every single time he goes out there. And this is a very interesting matchup, though, because when you think about Ryan Hall, I mean, who fight? There's not that many guys that fight like Ryan Hall, man. I mean, the guy has really nice a kicking game. He keeps that distance and the range very well. He's tall. He's going to have the height and reach advantage over Ilia Topuria in this fight. And, you know, he'll throw spinning kicks. You know, his kicks are a bit of danger, man. I mean, front kicks at the middle, question mark kicks. He really is fluid with both legs as well. So he could frustrate guys just kicking them, keeping them at bay, touching them. Or, you know, like his fight with Darren Elkins. Elkins decided to try to be very aggressive. And Ryan Hall walked him onto some spinning kicks and dropped him a couple times. And really looked pretty solid in that fight. And when you try to close the distance and get in that boxing range or try to exchange with Ryan Hall, he'll just flop to his back and, you know, play the guard or Imanari roll and try to, you know, get in that 50-50 position. And it's just very, very probably frustrating. It's hard to really hit him on the feet. If you look at the numbers, I mean, he hasn't been hit very much in any of his fights. And Topuria, you know, he's one of these guys that likes to box. So he's going to have to close that gap and, you know, get in that boxing range. And to me, that's going to create grappling situations. I think that, you know, at range, Ryan Hall is the better kicker and he's longer. We've seen Ilia Topuria drop to the high kick before in one of his fights on the regional scene. But, you know, obviously Ilia is going to be the better athlete. And, you know, if he touches that chin of Ryan Hall, we haven't really seen Ryan Hall's chin tested too much. His boxing is going to be, you know, infinitely better than Ryan Hall's. But I honestly feel like this is going to be more of a grappling match, guys. I think that just with Ilia's style, pressing the action, and with Ryan Hall's style, you know, I think that Ilia's not going to be comfortable at that kicking range with a guy like Ryan Hall, nor should he be, really. I mean, he's shorter. He doesn't have as good of kicks. So why would he want to be out there? You know, he's going to want to close that gap. And Ryan Hall isn't going to allow him to box with him. He's not going to take that risk. So it's going to come down, in my opinion, to, you know, how good truly is Ilia's top game, and could he avoid the submissions of Ryan Hall and, you know, land some ground and pound and keep on top and kind of win the fight that way. Or, you know, I could see him, you know, kind of like winning by striking just with the forward pressure in a really weird fight. But I think more, if he gets the win here, I think it's going to be him showing off that he can get on top of Ryan Hall and be just fine. He could stay in his guard and avoid the submissions, land some ground and pound. And he's been confident with that up this week. I mean, some of the stuff he's been saying, I think, is a little bit of like gamesmanship, where he said like he's going to go 50-50 with Ryan Hall. He thinks he could leg lock him and stuff like that. To me, you know, I don't think he's really going to do that. I think he's kind of just you know, just talking, and, you know, he's really going to probably try to knock him out on the feet. But I do think that he believes that he could hang with Ryan Hall in the grappling exchanges and not get submitted, stay on top and do well. So I do think he has that belief in himself, and that's either going to be, you know, to him showing us that he could do it and really proving a lot to a lot of people, or to his detriment, where, you know, he gets caught in submission and Ryan Hall picks up another victory. I think, you know, when you're looking at this fight just at the money line value, I think it's on Ryan Hall. I think that he's a guy that Ilia's never fought before. He's never fought anyone even close to a fighter like Ryan Hall. And it's just, it's hard to game plan for a guy like that, and it's hard to really be effective. So, you know, it's gonna be a fight that Ilia is gonna have to really maneuver and, you know, be crafty and, you know, show his full MMA game here. And, you know, for Ryan Hall, he's gonna just have to do his thing and see what happens. But one thing I don't like on the Ryan Hall side is just, he's 36 years old at this point, and he's had to pull out of a lot of fights recently with injuries, and kind of just hasn't been very active. And I just don't know, has he been training 100% this full time? Has he improved his game? Is he going to come in here looking old and regressed? It's hard to really, you know, go in and pick Ryan Hall with extreme confidence when you haven't seen him fight in almost, you know, 2 years. So ultimately, I am going to go with the youth, you know, with the momentum, with the confidence, with the undefeated guy, with Ilia Topuria. And I think that he's going to win in a way that people are going to be impressed with, because I think he's going to be able to get on top, kind of like Sal Rogers did on The Ultimate Fighter, and have periods where he is on top of Ryan Hall, controlling him, landing ground and pound. And I don't think he's going to really engage in like a submission battle, but I think that he's going to just stay safe on top, and I think that he's going to be able to, win the exchanges that they do have on the feet. He might be able to force some boxing exchanges, but I do think it's going to be a little bit tough. The Gilbert Ryan Hall has to be respected as well. So it's a close fight to me on paper, but I'm just going to go with the guy that's been more active recently, that's younger, that has just kind of like, he has an aura about him where it does seem like he could be future contender, future top 10 guy. So I'm going to trust that. I'm going to say, you know, Ilia Topuria is the goods, and he's going to show it here. But Ryan Hall, he's a tough guy to prove that against. So he's going to have to come in here and be locked in, be ready to go, and we'll see what happens. But really intriguing fight, really intriguing matchup there. My pick will be Ilia Topuria. Talk about fucking wild fights. Niko Price, Michel Pereira. I mean, they're doing good matchmaking with Michel Pereira, man. Chaos Williams, Niko Price. Keep feeding them these wild motherfuckers, and you know, let's light the bomb and see what happens. I mean, the Chaos Williams fight, it wasn't maybe as wild as we thought, but it was still a fun fight. It was back and forth, and Michel Pereira was able to show his class there. I thought he kind of outclassed Chaos Williams a little bit, hit the takedowns, and was able to kind of control the distance on the feet and, you know, make it his style of fight. And Niko Price, you know, he's coming off that draw with Cowboy Cerrone, where that was kind of a bad look, lackluster performance, especially, you know, the Cerrone that we've been seeing in recent years. And before that, he did have a really nice fight, though, with Vicente Luque, where, you know, he was winning on the judges' scorecards up until the time of the stoppage in the third round. But I do believe ultimately in that fight, if you watched it, that Luque was probably going to finish Niko, because Niko is very, very exhausted. He had just gotten dropped, and I think Luque would have gotten him out of there. But Niko had a good performance in that fight nonetheless. And Niko is clearly improving. I mean, when he first came into the UFC, he was super unrefined, just wild, just threw whatever, and didn't really seem like he had a rhyme or reason to what he tries to do. And, you know, it worked for him in a lot of fights. He was able to get some crazy knockouts and stuff like that. But now I feel like he is working the volume a little bit more. He's working his jab more. And his jab was pretty effective against Vicente Luque, but Luque is a guy that has terrible defense, man. He doesn't move his head. He gets hit in every fight a lot. And he's just kind of like a guy that really could weather a storm, has an excellent chin. So he was able to take a lot of big shots from Niko. But Michel Pereira is going to be moving a lot more. He's going to be a harder target to hit. And it's going to be, in my opinion, kind of a more difficult matchup in terms of finding him and landing and being effective with his volume. I think that it's going to be back to Niko being more of a knockout or bust type of guy, where he's going to need that finish to beat Michel. I'm curious to see what type of game plan Niko comes out here with, because it does seem like he does well against these guys that are kickers, you know, the Randy Browns. He's also beaten Alan Joban. He beat Alex Morono. So he's branded that. So he's fought some good kickers, and he's been able to take a lot of these guys down or just knock them out with a counter. He really likes that counter right hand. You'll counter with his overhand right or his right hook. He, you know, will throw those uppercuts and, you know, the jabs. And it's just hard to count out Niko Price because his chin is so good. If you brawl with this guy, like you saw Tim Means, he's like landing all these slap twos and just like beating the hell out of him, rocking Niko's head back. And Niko just stays in it, man. He doesn't get discouraged. He doesn't lose confidence. He stays in the pocket even when he's getting just bombed on. And that's where he's dangerous, because he could explode. He does weird shit, spinning back fists in the middle of his combinations and, you know, backs guys up. And that's what he's going to need to do with Michel here. He's going to need to kind of, in my opinion, go a bit to a brawl, then back him to the cage and try to knock him out. And we've seen Michel be very durable throughout his career. He's only been finished one time by strikes in 36 fights, and that was at 185 pounds. But we have seen him dropped, and we've seen him hurt in other fights, so Niko definitely has the power to knock him out. But Michel has the power to knock out Niko as well. I mean, he has pretty big power, that right hand, good right cross. He's going to be the way faster guy, more technical in the exchanges. And I think that he's just going to want to try to limit the exchanges, not get wild, you know, throw front kicks up the middle, throw long shots, you know, strikes that keep Niko more at bay, and touch him and move. when Niko gets over aggressive, I think that Michel even could try to level change, get on top, and control him, because he is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. We've seen Niko struggle with takedown defense and kind of not really be that great off of his back. But I mean, saying that he's not great off of his back is a little bit weird for me to say, because he has 2 knockouts from bottom where he's gotten these crazy wild KOs, but it's just like other fights where he's on bottom. You watch the fight, against Jeff Neal, he's just getting hammered with ground and pound. Doesn't really show great defense on the feet or defense on the ground in terms of posture control or, just defending the punches. And I mean, Michel could take him down as well, control him. Michel's a huge guy, man, for 170. He's one of the biggest welterweights on the roster. I think he's going to be a little bit more physically bigger, stronger than Niko, even though Niko's a big guy as well. But man, I mean, I think this is a wild fight because I think it's like Michel's going to be the better fighter. He just proved that he could go out there with another super explosive, fast guy that tries to take your head off in Chaos Williams, and he was able to survive that for 3 rounds, get the victory. But I will say Chaos is way more basic, and he's not going to be as weird or wild or just, I mean, as Niko Price. Niko's going to bring a different element, and Michel has to be locked in. He has to be super, super not fucking around. He does do that messing around, but I feel like he's really kind of toned it down recently. He's not really doing it as much. In the Chaos Williams fight, we didn't really see much of that at all. And I feel like he's going to probably be able to get the win here. But I'm just nervous about that Niko KO. You always have to be nervous about that Niko knockout when he fights anybody. He's live for that. So he's a firecracker. He's one of the most dangerous guys in the division. But I just think Michel, technically on the feet, is going to be a lot faster. He's going to have the better movement. Niko's a little bit of a plotter. So I think Michel is going to be able to touch him with his right cross, touch him maybe a couple times, then move and reset. Niko's going to, plod back in. And I think he's going to be able to kind of do that for the whole fight. And if Niko really gets kind of wild and tries to force it, that's where he can hit the takedown on Niko and get on top. But, Niko, he's going to be trying to push the pace, make Pereira prove that he has a gas tank. And maybe he's going to try to hit the takedowns of his own and get the fight to the ground, because we all know Niko does wrestle in some fights, but I don't really see him being able to close that gap and take down Michel effectively. So for me, the pick is going to be Michel Pereira to get the win here. Man, another fucking sick fight we got right here with Max Griffin taking on Carlos Condit. And both these guys have been doing well lately. I mean, Carlos Condit, he had that long losing streak. A lot of people thought he was totally done. He was never going to get another win until he retired. But he's been able to get 2 wins in a row. He beat 2 guys more from his era. He beat Court McGee. He beat Matt Brown. And now he's going to have to prove that he can go in there and beat more of a new breed guy. I mean, Max Griffin is 35 years old, but when Carlos Condit made his debut in the UFC, Max Griffin wasn't even a pro in MMA yet. So they might be similar in age, but Carlos Condit, he's been around, he's done his thing, he's won the UFC title, he's won the WEC title, and he's one of the best welterweights of all time. So any single time that someone gets, a chance to sign on that dotted line, they fight Carlos Condit, it's probably the biggest fight of their lives, and that's no different for Max Griffin. In my opinion, I mean, maybe Zaleski dos Santos, maybe, but other than that, this is the best fighter Max Griffin has ever fought in his entire career. I mean, I see a lot of people are very confident on Griffin, but there's levels to this man. I mean, Max Griffin, he's been fighting the very fringe. I mean, probably the best win he's had in the UFC is Mike Perry. He's 5-6 overall in the UFC, so his record as well is just very salty. You see some of the guys that he's beaten. I mean, Kenan Song, don't think that guy's a UFC level fighter. Zhalim Imadaev got cut from the UFC. Ramiz Brahimaj, don't think is a UFC level fighter. Personally, Mike Perry, Eric Montano got cut from the UFC. So those are his wins, man. I mean, even the fight too as well, when you watch his fight with Zhalim Imadaev, in my opinion, that fight should have been a draw. Personally, I felt like Imadaev won the second and third round pretty clearly. He got the point taken. Max Griffin took that first round. But that's one of the fights that, I watched and I really came away not very impressed with Max Griffin in a lot of ways. And It's just that in this fight, I mean, his game plan and the way that he has to win, because just on the feet, I mean, Max Griffin has good hands. He has a good jab and a good straight right, but he's so basic. That's all he throws on the feet is the jab and the straight right hand. And he has a long reach. Usually you'll have a reach advantage, height advantage in his fights. This fight, he's not going to have a reach, and he's going to have a height disadvantage, so it's going to be a little bit of a different look for him. But you don't really see Max Griffin throwing hooks. You don't see him throwing kicks. He only really throws the jab, the 1-2, and he'll throw that straight right, as a lead as well. But it's like he's very basic on the feet. I mean, guys can get their rhythm and they can kind of start to read him. We saw better strikers are able to really kind of defeat Max Griffin. I mean, you see Alex Morono drop him with a head kick. Curtis Melender really pieced him apart. Elizio Zaleski dropped him multiple times in their fight. And, so but to win this fight, to me, he's going to have to wrestle and wrestle hard because he's not a submission threat. I mean, Condit is the much better jiu-jitsu guy, so I don't see him finishing Carlos Condit on the mat. So you're going to have to trust Max Griffin to wrestle for 3 hard rounds. To me, I just don't really see that as a viable option for him because he only has like 5 minutes of grappling cardio, and his grappling is very ineffective. I mean, he has a good body lock, and he could probably take Carlos Condit to the ground, but his top control is not very good. I mean, you see guys stand up from under Max Griffin repeatedly, and he gasses out super badly when he's forced to wrestle heavy. I think Condit is the type of guy that wears on his fighters that he fights even, without them having gas issues. We saw Matt Brown really get tired, even saw Court McGee get tired in that 3rd round, who's known as a cardio machine. So I feel like Carlos Condit is going to win the 3rd round of this fight like 8 out of 10 times. I really do. I feel like he's just going to be clearly the superior striker. I don't think many people could argue that. I mean, Carlos Condit throws nice combinations. He mixes it really well. Good elbows, way more volume variation than Max Griffin. He controls the distance better than Max Griffin. And he loves to throw that combination that Alex Morono threw that knocked out or that dropped Max Griffin with the head kick. So I feel like he's going to be looking for that. And I feel like people just underrate Carlos Condit's grappling significantly, man. I mean, he does have poor takedown defense, but his jiu-jitsu on his back is really good. He has great sweeps, good leg attacks. He's hard to hold down unless you're a super, super credentialed guy. I mean, look at the grapplers that really just held down and dominated Carlos Condit. I mean, there is some fights like Alex Oliveira was able to submit Carlos, but Carlos was actually doing well in the grappling in that fight and kind of I think he got rocked a little bit, and then, he got caught in a submission. But, you see him when he's fighting, guys like Matt Brown, he's able to reverse them. He's able to get on top. He's able to kind of win the grappling in comparison to Matt Brown. And I feel like Matt Brown is a guy that has a way better top game than Max Griffin. He has better top control. He has good elbows on top. He's more damaging. And I feel like Carlos Condit was able to negate all of Matt Brown's offense on top and really out-grapple him. He was able to hit a couple switches, get on top, hit a sweep as well, and just kind of was able to win the grappling, in my opinion. But, I mean, let's name some of these guys that beat Carlos Condit with, grappling, held him down, dominated him. I mean, Michael Chiesa, Damian Maia, Johnny Hendricks, George St. Pierre, Jake Shields. These guys are like the cream of the crop grapplers, man. I mean, he even had that fight with Neil Magny where Magny took him down quite a few times. But even if you go back and watch that fight, Condit was making it tough. He was scrambling back up to his feet. He wasn't allowing Neil to just lay on him and control him on top. And I feel like with Max Griffin, he's going to be able to sweep Max Griffin. He's going to be able to get back up to his feet if Griffin takes him down. I don't think Griffin has the cardio to take him down for more than 5 minutes, even 5 minutes potentially. And I think on the feet, Condit, he's much more fluid. He throws better combinations, and he's going to be able to get the beat on what Max Griffin is doing pretty quickly because Max Griffin doesn't really give a lot of different looks. I think when he does, he's going to really start to pepper and pick apart Max Griffin. And I think Condit is going to look like, he's the minus 190 favorite in this fight, to be honest with you. I really do, because Max Griffin's just an untrustworthy guy, man. I mean, he's 1-3 in pay-per-view spots as well. The one win was that win over Zalimi Madaev, where I said I felt like it should have been a draw. He's already lost to a few guys that are, older vets. He lost to Alex Cowboy Oliveira. He lost to Thiago Alves. And, this guy wasn't even able to win with a grappling game plan against Curtis Millender. You guys think Carlos Condit isn't on the level of grappling as a Curtis Millender? I feel like Carlos can work those knees, work those uppercuts, work those front shots up the middle that kind of makes Max Griffin hesitant to close the gap, and then he can work his combinations when he gets on the inside, be the way better guy on the inside as well. I think on the ground, Carlos is better. So, man, give me Carlos Condit in this fight, and I think he's going to win and look good here. And moving along to the main card, so this is the first fight on the main card. I just want to say, right before we break down this main card, let's hit that like button, guys. Everyone that's watching the video, hit the like button. Let's try to hit that 500 likes. That would be awesome. And yeah, man, really appreciate it. But Sean O'Malley, Kris Moutinho, so let's talk about this for a little bit, right? We got Sean O'Malley. He was expecting to go in there, fight a veteran in Luis Smolka, who, I wouldn't say he's an easy touch, but he's a guy that Sean was expected to beat. And now he's getting an easy touch. Now he's getting Kris Moutinho, where he's a minus 900 favorite. And, I see a lot of people kind of like shitting on O'Malley, and it's not his fault. He's not the matchmaker. I think he wanted to fight Ricky Simone. He was accepted. I don't think he called Dana White and said he declined any of those fights. I think he would have taken any fight that they gave him. But I think what it is, it's a lot of guys they know. It's like you mentioned Sean O'Malley's name, and you can get some credit, and you could get some media buzz and clout on social media, and it's like they weren't ready to take the fight. Like Ricky Simone, he couldn't make the weight. Cody Stamen, he couldn't make the weight. Who else called him out? Merab, he already has a fight booked. So it's like a lot of these guys, they're just talking for show. Brian Kelleher, I'm pretty sure he has a fight booked as well. So I don't know what they were expecting here, but yeah, Sean O'Malley got Kris Moutinho. I'm sure they could have given him a better opponent than that, but obviously, they're invested in this kid. They want him to do well, and yeah, him versus Kris Moutinho. I watched him fights on Kris Moutinho, and the guy's not a grappler. He's a boxer. He has some decent kicks, and but he more wants to get on the inside, force exchanges, and he has some pretty good hands. His hands aren't bad, but he never moves his head. He closes his distance super reckless, and he gets dropped in almost every fight. He's got finished twice in fights recently by knockout. And, I'm not going to take away from the kid too much. He's jumping in here on short notice. Moutinho is. He's, doing a service to the UFC. He's getting a big-time opportunity. And he's going to go in there and bring it. He's not going to look for the takedown. He's going to try to close that gap and get in O'Malley's face and box. And I don't think it's going to work. I don't think he's going to be able to close that distance. We all kind of know O'Malley's game. He's a sniper, rangy on the outside, and really works the long strikes. He's super technical, and he's a good fighter. He has big power, and I just see him starching Moutinho in the first round. I don't really have a big breakdown for this fight. I just think O'Malley is going to be able to keep that distance and catch him when he's coming in, and Moutinho is going to eat it flush and go out. So got to go with Sean O'Malley, and I think he's going to win first round KO here. And last but not least here, for the women's fights, we got Irene Aldana taking on Yana Kunitskaya. This fight's an interesting fight. It's Irene Aldana trying to rebound after her number one contender fight, where she was one win away from the title when she faced Holly Holm, and kind of just got outclassed in that one. Showed a lot of errors. I don't think they had a great game plan. She kept circling right to the power side of a southpaw for the entire fight, showed no adjustments, and really showed terrible fight IQ in that fight, and was just dominated, so wasn't a good look. Then you got Yana Kunitskaya, who's coming off 2 big wins. She had a really nice upset victory in her last fight, where she was able to defeat Ketlin Vieira in a very odd fight. That fight, it was like Vieira had her back and she wasn't really doing much, and Yana was throwing a lot of strikes that were ineffective strikes, but you know, they gave the fight to Yana. It was a weird one. It's like it could have gone either way, because it's like one person at dominant position wasn't doing anything, the other person landing pitter-patter strikes. So it's like, I don't know, but you know, Yana was able to get the victory in that one. And in this fight, she's obviously not going to have to worry about getting taken down. I think she's actually going to be the much physically stronger, superior grappler in this fight. And you know, in terms of striking, Irene Aldana does have some really fast hands. She has good boxing. She'll, you know, attack the body to open up the head. And she has big power. She'll throw nice crosses. And, you know, when she connects clean, we saw, like, against Ketlen Vieira, she can knock you out. So definitely have to respect her power there. I don't think, obviously, her getting a knockout is a very, you know, high percentage outcome in most of her fights. But she has some power for that division. She's long, she's rangy, and she is aggressive as well. So she'll throw a lot of volume. But one thing about Irene Aldana, like I said, is she always circles to the left. I mean, she was circling right into the, you know, the southpaw power of Holly Holm. And she really struggled with the footwork and just the kicks from the outside, which Yana is going to be trying to do as well. And Yana Kunitskaya, one thing about her is she fights orthodox, but I would be kind of surprised if she wasn't left-handed, because almost all of her strikes come from that lead hand, and her rear, and then she'll throw a lot of rear kicks, and she'll throw, you know, nice front kicks with the lead leg as well, or like kind of like oblique type stomp type kicks as well. But that's really her game on the feet. She likes to work that lead hand, her jab, her left hook is really nice. She has a good check left hook. And she throws nice kicks on the outside. And I think that's a style that's going to give Irene Aldana issues, who's a very hittable girl. I mean, Irene Aldana, she's been hit over 100 times in 4 UFC fights. She absorbs almost 6 strikes a minute. She absorbs more strikes per minute than she lands. Whereas Yana, she lands almost double the amount of strikes that she absorbs per minute. And her striking, I mean, she's a little bit stiff. And like I said, she doesn't really use that right hand. But she's technical because she has good footwork. She throws nice kicks. She has really good timing with her jab, with her left hook. And those are things that are going to give Irene issues, because she always circles to that left side. I think that, you know, Yana's going to be able to land that left hook pretty effectively. I think the kicks on the outside from Yana are going to be superior to the kicks of Aldana. And I also see Yana being way more physically stronger in the clinch. I think that's going to be something that she's going to try to do when Irene tries to close the gap and force, you know, more boxing exchanges, because that's where Irene is going to have success, because Yana could be a little bit stiff and she doesn't really, you know, have that right hand as a weapon. But, you know, I feel like that's where Yana's going to be able to grab, use her physicality. She's pretty explosive. She does a good job of getting those double underhooks in the clinch, driving opponents to the cage, good takedowns from there. And I think that Yana is going to be able to work, you know, that movement or left hook, her kicks, you know, touch Irene a lot, you know, land a lot of shots, because Irene is just a very hittable girl. And when Irene tries to get aggressive, you know, close that gap, force exchanges in the boxing, I think that Yana is going to be able to clinch up, either get the takedowns or hold her against the cage and, you know, just be the superior fighter in this matchup. So I'm going to go with Yana Kunitskaya. I just think that she's going to be a little bit better with her defense. She's not going to get hit as much, and she's going to be able to have the grappling advantage as well. So I think that Yana throwing a lot of left-hand attacks is also, you know, good for her in this fight, and she does that. So give me Yana for the win here. Man, they always got to give us one of these, right? I mean, up next we got a heavyweight fight. We got Tuivasa taking on Greg Hardy. Yeah, I'm not super excited about this one here, but they got a lot of 6 fights on the card, so they got to give us something like this. But see, a lot of people are super confident on Ty Bam Bam Tuivasa on here, acting like the guy's a cardio machine or something. But I mean, I don't know. This fight to me is like the line says, it's pretty even. Ty Tuivasa, he's an okay striker. He does a good job of kind of just, he's more athletic and faster than a lot of heavyweights. In this fight, he's not going to have that advantage, but he'll explode in with kind of like big overhands or like a flying knee, like big explosive actions. Tries to get you to the cage, and that's where he wants you to be. I mean, he wants to clinch you up against the cage, hold you there, land his elbows, land his knees, land his shots off the break, work his combinations when you're against the cage and try to overwhelm you and take you out. And, you know, he has some power, obviously, in that overhand right, and, you know, he even has some power in his left hand as well. And one thing that in this fight, in which he used in his last fight very effectively against Harry Hunsucker, is his leg kicks. He has hard, heavy low kicks, and Greg Hardy has shown the tendency to not check kicks and eat a lot of kicks. If you watch his fights, for instance, with Yorgan De Castro, with Alexander Volkov, but he has also proven that, you know, he could take those kicks, and Tai hasn't been extremely effective with his leg kicks in many fights that I remember, other than the Harry Hunsucker fight. So take with that what you want. I mean, I can't think of another fight where Tai really hurt his opponent too badly with low kicks. It was just that one fight. So I feel like Greg Hardy is going to be able to take those leg kicks better. I mean, he took those hard low kicks of Yorgan De Castro, who, in my opinion, is a better leg kicker than Tai. And, you know, like I said, Tai's going to want to try to get you against the cage. Greg is going to want to do the exact opposite. He has 3 inches in height. He has 5 inches in reach, 5.5 inches. He's going to be the faster, more athletic guy with his footwork and his hand speed. And, you know, he does a good job of moving around, just working the jab, kind of posturing a lot like he's going to throw the right hand. And sometimes he will throw the right hand. And one thing about Greg Hardy is I believe that if he had better cardio, which obviously is the knock on him, he could be a high-level guy because he has great head movement, man. I mean, the guy will slip and come back with fast shots, good sharp counters, and the guy is really a solid striker. I mean, his boxing is pretty good. One thing about Greg is, like I said, he'll get tired, so if you continue to pressure him, attack his body, you know, work the leg kicks, maybe he'll slow down and kind of the wheels will fall off. But he does a good job, like I said, posturing with that right hand, working his jab, and guys know that he has power, so they know that if they come forward, he could slip and rip. He's shown that. So they kind of get lulled into that slow, no volume pace that he throws, that he does. I mean, you saw that happen in his fight with Yorgan De Castro. You saw that happen in his fight with Ben Sassoli. And he can kind of just lull these guys in the fight that he wants, touch him with the jab, touch him with the straight right hand if they get too over aggressive, has some flurries to kind of show him that he's dangerous and, you know, make him a little bit hesitant to, you know, get in those exchanges. And he's proven that, you know, even though his cardio, he definitely slows down significantly. If there's not a lot of grappling, he can go 3 rounds and he can do well. I mean, he's won some decisions. The 2 guys that he's lost to, man, Marcin Tybura and Alexander Volkov, I mean, both those guys would destroy Tai Tuivasa as well. And I felt like Greg Hardy had a pretty solid performance against Marcin Tybura. He was winning the entire fight. He was probably winning the first 7-8 minutes of the fight. And he obviously fatigued, got taken down, and got finished. But Tai Tuivasa is not going to take this guy down. He's going to be keeping it on the feet, trying to plot in, get him against the cage, work his combinations, and, you know, take him out, work the leg kicks on the outside. But I think that at range, Greg is going to have way faster hands. He's going to work the jab, and he's going to give Tai a lot of issues when Tai tries to close that distance with his counters. I think that he's going to work leg kicks of his own, and I think he's not going to be taking those leg kicks as badly as a guy like Harry Hunsucker. I think they're going to need to accumulate a lot more to take out or to affect Greg Hardy in that same way. And, I mean, it's 2 low-level heavyweights, and I'm just going to go with the bigger, more athletic guy. I'm going to go with Greg Hardy to get the victory in this one. I think that a lot of people are overrating Tai Tuivasa because he's gotten 2 wins over 2 guys that Greg Hardy, quite frankly, would take out in the first round as well. And Greg Hardy's coming off that loss to Tybura, where I saw a lot of people picking Greg Hardy over Tybura, who's a top 10 guy. And, you know, now they're kind of off the train because he got finished. And, you know, maybe a lot of people think his cardio is just not where it needs to be. But he's not fighting a guy that pushes the pace. He's not fighting a guy that has great cardio. And I think he's going to be able to implement his game and get the win. So, going to go with Greg Hardy to win kind of a boring, lackluster decision here. Here we go. We got the co-main event here. We got Gilbert Burns taking on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And, man, I mean, excellent fight for the UFC welterweight division here. We got Gilbert Burns, who's coming off fighting for the title in his last fight against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, 2-time title challenger that is, moving on a run and try to make his 3rd title challenge here. He's one of the only guys that hasn't had that crack at Kamaru Usman, so if he can come in here and have a good performance over Gilbert Burns, I mean, he might position himself right there. And Gilbert Burns, if he can win, he obviously had that big moment against Kamaru Usman where he dropped him, had him pretty hurt. He might be able to position himself right back in the mix as well. But this is a great fight because stylistically, I mean, I think that it's kind of a clash of styles where we got Gilbert Burns, who he's really improved his striking, obviously. I mean, he has huge power. His check left hook is nasty. Good straight right hand. He's improved his leg kicks a lot. And he does a good job of, really trying to get on the inside, find that big counter, that big shot, put you down, and he's gotten more technical with it. And he also has improved his wrestling quite a bit. I still don't think he has great wrestling, but he has a good blast double, good reactive double leg. And when he gets on top, he has some of the best jiu-jitsu in the sport. So he's a well-rounded guy that has knockout power, that's explosive, that's fast. But, the one thing that is a knock on him is his durability, man. I mean, he got knocked out by Kamaru Usman. He's been finished by Dan Hooker. We've seen him hurt in other fights as well. And, Gilbert Burns is going to have to take some punishment to get on the inside and close that gap against Wonderboy Thompson. I mean, the one thing that we have seen on the feet that can be effective against Wonderboy is the leg kicks, though. I mean, we've seen a few guys go to work with the low kicks on Stephen Thompson, and that's what Gilbert, his leg kicks are nasty. So if you can land 3, 4, 5 clean calf kicks, limit that movement of Wonderboy, get him to, have to sit down on more of his punches and, be in more of that danger zone, then that's where he's going to have a chance to clinch him up and take him down or land that kill shot and, win that way. So I think the leg kicks for Gilbert Burns need to be a big part of his game plan. But, man, I mean, Stephen Thompson, this guy, some of the best striking in the sport, man. I mean, some of the best distance control kickboxing in the sport. He just is so good at controlling that range, working his strikes, not letting you, corral him and just touching you, countering. His jab is nasty. His hands are really good. His kicks are excellent. And he's seen this style of Gilbert Burns so many times. I mean, a flat-footed, short, stocky guy that's going to try to close the distance with big shots to try to take him to the ground. So, I mean, I think Gilbert Burns is going to really struggle in this type of matchup to close the distance and be effective with the striking against Stephen Thompson. The leg kicks are going to be there, but, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be able to land as many leg kicks as he needs before, Stephen gets his rhythm and starts to kind of read when Gilbert's going to, throw those shots and start to counter and move and, make reads off of that. And I don't really think that Gilbert is going to be too effective closing his gap in wrestling here. If he does get in on the legs or get him against the cage, it'll be interesting because Stephen Thompson, I mean, he does have very good takedown defense on paper, and, his percentage is very good, but he hasn't faced a ton of wrestlers. I do think, though, like I said, that in and out movement and just the distance control is going to make it very hard for Gilbert to get on the inside and get in on the legs. And I just think Thompson is going to be able to just do what he does, man. Land on the numbers and just keep Gilbert at range, keep him kind of frustrated. He's not going to be able to close the gap. And if he starts to take more risks, then I think Stephen could even potentially knock him out with a kick, with a big shot. We saw Gilbert Burns' training partner, teammate, Vicente Luque, who kind of has a similar, in my opinion, better, but similar striking style, really struggle with a guy like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, struggled with the movement, struggled, with everything. And it is going to be back in the big cage. They're going to be, obviously, at T-Mobile Arena. There's going to be fans there and everything. So, they're not going to be at the apex. It's going to be even harder for Gilbert to corral him. And I just think Thompson is going to probably win this fight rather easily, put on a show, really dominate with the striking, and just have Gilbert look really befuddled, because I just think it's a good matchup for him here. And I think Gilbert also is a little bit, his chin might be a little bit compromised as well. So both these guys have to be wary of getting knocked out. But I think that if it goes 15 minutes, that Steven is going to win comfortably. So, going to go with Stephen Thompson here. And finally, here we go. Probably the fight, you guys have been wanting me to break down the most. You've been looking forward to for a while with one of the most anticipated trilogies in the history of the sport. We got Conor McGregor making his return, taking on Dustin Poirier. And, this time Conor's not riding all high and mighty off the Cowboy win, off the former knockout of Dustin Poirier. He's going to have to pick up the pieces a little bit, and he just got knocked out in January, so that was only 6 months ago as well. So yeah, I mean, Dustin Poirier, he got the biggest win of his life the last time he went out there, took out Conor McGregor, made himself a pretty big name. And I mean, I do think that, I don't know if Dustin is ever going to become, that superstar type of guy, but this is more of a legacy fight for him. And for Conor, I mean, you do have to respect Conor, man, because in a way it's like, I doubt that many people would still be so motivated and want to fight these top guys when they have so much money like Conor does. Conor could fight whoever he wants, and it obviously shows at least some sort of motivation, because it's not like he's fighting for money anymore, so that's not the motivation for why he's doing this. He also, he's ratchet up the trash talk for this one. He's kind of went back to the old Conor. I am curious to watch that press conference on Thursday, kind of see the vibe, see what he does. But he's even like posting these little things on Twitter where he's like talking shit. It's pretty funny. But I mean, in terms of how the fight goes with the first fight, obviously Conor went in there, dusted him a long time ago. Then, the Diamond went in there and did his thing in the second fight. So this one, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I see some people going back and picking Conor, but I think for me it's tough, man. It's like, you can't think of too many fighters that had two primes. Like Conor already had his prime, he had a full career. And now if you look at 3 of his last 4 fights, if you include the one with Floyd Mayweather, he's lost, 3 out of 4 of them. So it's like, is he going to be able to turn the ship around and get the win? And in this one, it's very possible, because obviously, I mean, if you watch that last fight, Conor was having a lot of success in that first round. He was finding his right hand. He landed the uppercut. And I feel like in that fight, though, a lot of people pointed to, the stance, and that obviously probably had something to do with it. I think he's probably going to come in here with that karate stance in this fight, try to make it more of an all-around MMA fight, not try to just box and focus on that left hand as much. But I think that it's going to be tough to just break all those habits he's been doing for years now. I mean, since 2017, he's really fought primarily in that boxing stance, looking for the left hand, looking to primarily just box with his opponents. So to expect him to really go back to the other style and be fully adaptable with it like he was previously in 5-6 months, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to totally do that. But one thing I do think is, besides that, is he just, I don't think he respected Dustin at all. He closed that gap and ate the leg kicks, and he was really just trying to get him out of there. And if you watch certain fights, like the second fight he had with Nate Diaz, even the fight he had with Eddie Alvarez, he's much more calm and deliberate in the way that he closes the distance. He'll use leg kicks to set up his hands, and he does a lot better job of not just being totally just looking for that right hand. He's in and out. He's not as stationary, and he needs to do that in this fight. He has to respect Dustin. He can't just walk onto his leg kicks, walk into the pocket, and try to force exchanges. He has to feint. He has to be a little bit more with the in and out movement. He has to work a little bit more kicks, spins, things like that. And I think that he will throw them, because I think that he's just going to even just try to get Dustin off his game a little bit, get him thinking like, oh man, this is the old Conor that knocked me out. So I think early on he's going to maybe open up with a lot of those type of kicks and things like that. And, obviously that first round, early part of the second round is when Conor is the most dangerous, and I think that he is going to have a chance to hit that knockout, but I don't know. It's just like Dustin Poirier at 155. He did get finished that one time by Michael Johnson, but he's shown an excellent chin, and he took all of Conor's shots. He took some clean shots in the first round from Conor, took that uppercut, he took a straight left, And he said he was hurt, but he ate the shots. He didn't wobble, really. He wasn't dropped. And, you know, I don't know if Conor's going to be able to land, you know, much better than that. And when you're just looking at the volume and the pace that Dustin can keep, it's tough for me to see Conor really lasting much past that like 7-8 minute mark in terms of really being super competitive. Because you see him, he's super obvious when he gets tired. He's like doesn't have a good poker face, and I feel like Dustin is a guy that doesn't let people rest. He'll pick it up, throw combinations, and you know, he had a lot of success actually in the pocket in exchanges with Dustin or with Conor in his last fight. He was landing that check right hook pretty often. He was actually landing the straight left that he threw a little bit, landing a lot of leg kicks obviously. And I think that in exchanges, Dustin obviously isn't as good as Conor, but he's bigger. And I actually think that, you know, his shots kind of moved Conor a little more. They made him react a little bit more than Conor's shots did to Dustin. I also feel like that, you know, Dustin just throws way more volume. The cardio is going to be there for him. I think he's going to try to do the same thing he did in the first fight, which is early on make him work in the clinches with the takedowns. Even if you can't control him or take him down, just get that lactic acid going in his arms and get him a little bit tired, slow him down a little bit. And, you know, Conor, I think that I think, like I said, it's hard to really pick him with a lot of confidence because you can't name me probably 10 fighters in MMA history that had 2 primes in their career, and I just don't see Conor coming in here beating a guy in Dustin Poirier who's won 11 out of the 12 fights at lightweight in his last 12 or whatever. He's just been running through guys, dominating. He just beat Conor McGregor pretty convincingly. I mean, he broke him down and then he knocked him out cold. So, I mean, I don't know. I just don't see Conor being able to take him out of there. I think he is going to come in here and be a little bit more respectful of Dustin, try to feint, set up his shots, throw more kicks. I think he's going to look for leg kicks of his own, things like that. But I think that Dustin is still going to be able to hang in there, eat the shots, land some shots of his own, be, you know, pretty competitive in the exchanges. And I think he's still going to be landing some low kicks as well. Even if Conor's in that karate stance, it's still going to be there with the southpaw to southpaw. And, you know, I don't think that Conor's going to address that quickly. I also believe that, you know, Dustin is going to just be able to outwill him as well if it becomes a tough fight. I think Dustin is going to want it more. I mean, it's hard to really be that super, like when you find a way out and it's like you're already getting $100 million for the fight, you're made almost $1 billion. It's easy to take that way out, man. And I mean, Conor even was taking ways out like that before he had a lot of money. Like, not a lot. He obviously had a lot of money at the point when he fought like Nate Diaz, but he didn't have that big Floyd payday, and he's still kind of, I feel like he panics a little bit in submissions, and he does kind of look for the way out when adversity gets super tough. So I just think Dustin is going to be able to weather that storm early. I do think this fight's going to go a little bit longer, though, because, like I said, I think Conor's going to try to be a little bit more poised and try to, like I said, give Dustin a little bit more respect and come in behind feints, work his kicks a little bit at first. And I think that's going to prolong the fight. But I still see Dustin getting this finish, probably 3rd, 4th, maybe even the 5th round. But I see Dustin getting it done here again. What do you guys think, though? I want to know, I mean, for the people that think Conor's going to win, what type of difference do you think is going to come in here, or what game plan? Do you think that it's going to be the trash talk on Thursday that rattles Dustin, or just the whole lead up and, you know, he gets out of character? Or what do you think it's going to be that Conor does differently that gets him the win in this fight? But yeah, guys, I really appreciate everyone that listened to the video. Thank you so much. Once again, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Do these videos every week. And I also want to give a big shout out to everyone that's on Patreon. I'm going to be putting that link in the description as well if you want to jump on there, get access to all my bets for multiple promotions and write-ups, breakdowns, videos. So there's a lot of good content over there if you want to check that out there. And you know, so I really appreciate all my Patreons as well. You guys help the show continue to grow and, you know, keep going. So that's awesome. I really appreciate that. And for the parlay of the week, my most confident pick for this card here, the parlay of the week is going to be Sean O'Malley, Kris Moutinho fight not to go to decision, parlayed with Jennifer Maia. My most confident pick on the card, I mean, it's going to be Sean O'Malley, but other than that, I am very confident in Jennifer Maia, and I'm also pretty confident in Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and Condit getting the victories as well. So those are two fights that I'm pretty confident in. So there you have it, guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys later.